So, Jason, I'm going to read the texts that you sent me.
Okay.
I just got a text from Jason. This was on Saturday, and it just said, "What the fuck, man?" And I didn't know what it was. It just said that for a while because I think you were writing your follow-up text. So I just saw that on my phone, and I thought something had happened or someone had.
Did you think I was mad at you?
No, I thought maybe there was some drama about Kotaku or like someone had started some shit online. So I was like, I wonder what happened. And then your next text says, "I just played inside. WTF just happened." And that was very enjoyable for me
because it's a weird game. I mean, so it's gorgeous. First of all, it's one of the prettiest games I've ever played. It's just incredible looking. I still don't understand what happened because it's kind of this bizarre story.
I have some theory. We can talk about that. I've been reading theories and have thoughts, but we'll get there.
So what does it mean when when the blob absorbs your dude and then you just control the blob? Well, what is going on?
Obviously, it's all left up to interpretation, but there's a secret ending to this game. I don't know if you've watched
I know. I read about the secret ending.
Okay, did you watch it? It's really short.
Yeah.
So I feel like basically, it's of course open to interpretation, and that's really cool. More games should do that. I don't think there is anyone reading. There's no grimoire card that you unlock for the blob that explains to you, what the blob is. What the hidden ending suggests is I don't actually read it as canon. I read it as a sort of fun, playful mindfuck suggestion. But it's basically you find all of those.
Do you want to explain what the hidden ending is? Just in case people haven't seen it.
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. So as you go through the game the first time, you cannot get the hidden ending the first time. So as you go through the game the first time, you discover these little globes that are sort of these control globes that look kind of like disco balls, and they're related to the devices that you use to mind control the zombies throughout the game, because you find these kind of puppet people, these husks that move really floppy, and you can put on these sort of barber like shaver hats or whatever they these electronic hats that let you control them with your motions. It's one of the coolest moments in the game is at the very beginning when you first do that, and in the music it's just this like low drone starts playing, and the kid he like marches in place in the air with his feet hanging, and then in the background I was like, what? Like
it's not really clear. The thing I was wondering when that first happened was how the kid knew that he was in control of that puppet, because he couldn't see the puppet.
Well, so that I think that's actually explained by the theory about the secret ending. So
that you're controlling the puppet.
And that so the idea is that the kid goes through and you find all of these little hidden nodes, and then you play a second time, and at the very beginning in that cornfield there's this little puzzle you solve, and you open a hatch and go down into this secret room, and inside the secret room there's a button that's sort of, you turn it off and the kid goes totally limp, like one of those puppet people, which confirmed what I thought even without seeing that ending, was that I thought the kid was one of those puppet people throughout. He moves
and
like
the player
one,
is in control of him,
and he slumps like one, and he kind of flops around like one. His body doesn't quite move right, and so the idea, I think the thing they're playfully hinting at is that you, the player, are inside the game as well, and you're controlling him. And he was always just a flesh puppet for you, because the only way he could have even known to go down into that hole is if you'd played the game once and knew where to go.
But hold on. But none of this explains the blob.
Well, so the way I read it, so forgetting the secret ending.
It's so friggin' creepy when you're moving that thing around.
How amazing is that blob? So
the animations are just incredible.
So I guess, I'm gonna assume that some people are listening to this who haven't played the game but don't care about being spoiled. Basically, this game, you're this little kid, kind of like in Limbo. You go through this dangerous, crazy lab and these weird experiments with all these sort of flesh golem people, and you mind control them, and it's just really sinister, and there's just clearly unnatural mess up stuff going on. And then at the end you reach this experiment that's going on. and there are all these scientists pressed up against the glass, and you can't see what's in the glass. That's an amazing. That's like so. It's like so Spielbergy. It's so like it's such a good trick where you walk and suddenly all these people are around and they're not paying attention to you, which is the first time that's ever been true of the game, and they're all pressed against the glass.
Because usually people try to kill you,
right? Or catch you,
and then you're like, oh wow, this must be something huge if nobody's paying attention.
But you can't see what it is, which is so good. And then you have to go all the way around, and you go in, and then you finally see that they're looking at this like, I don't even know, like a kind of a uterus created to have this gross flesh baby thing in it. I don't know. It's like a birthing chamber for this Akira-like flesh golem. And then it sucks you into it, and then suddenly you're controlling it, and so you spend the last...
Well, you pull the plugs first. There are three plugs that you have to pull out.
That are controlling it or something, and then your clothes kind of fly off, which is really funny. You're like, whoa, my clothes just flew off. What's going on? And then you get sucked into it and kind of absorbed into this blob, and then you just control this flesh golem blob monster as it rampages through on its way out. And then it just kind of falls down a hill. Stops. It escapes. It falls down a hill, and it just kind of lands next to the water and sort of melts, and it's just a puddle of flesh. And then the game just ends, which is
ridiculous.
So good. I loved that entire sequence and that ending.
Well, so even before that, I was creeped out when one of the ladies grabs you and pulls you down, and then you can suddenly breathe underwater.
Yeah.
It was I didn't understand that. Was this like like mermaid lady trying to help you now after they were trying to kill you before?
So the way I read it, and I thought that was an interesting moment too. I loved those monsters as well, or those enemies that they were so creepy. There was a really good puzzle with them where you have to dangle yourself into the water and coax it to come over to the side and then go back over to the right. Is the only way to get enough time to get away. And they move so fast. Everything in the game is so perfectly polished. Sorry, every time we talk about something, I'm just gonna rage about how amazing I think it is because I think this game is so amazing.
Well, the coolest thing about it is that it all runs at 60 frames per second and there are no loading screens, and it all just feels, it's one of those times where like even the tiniest little technical hiccup would get in the way of the game, but because it has none of those, it's just like this perfectly crafted experience.
It has that kind
it really speaks to the power of like 60 frames per second and like just having that
and polish, and just, I mean, they spent 5 years on that game and it's a 3-hour game, and it just shows it has that kind of Valve-y level of absurd polish where you just, it's so uncommon, and playing it just feels like such a, you just stop thinking about it after a while. But then I played it multiple times, and every time I do, I'm like, how the hell, some of the animations, the way everything is so perfect and seamless. But yeah, so to what you were saying about the story, so I kind of read it, and this is kind of vague, but because it's a vague story, but that basically I thought the kid was sort of he was meant to return. He was part of the blob. He was being called by it. And I think he was one of those just flesh golems, and then somehow was given some sort of a special touch. Like he was touched, basically, in some way. And as a result, because notice everybody else is trying to escape, and you would think he would be trying to escape that lab, but he's not. You spend the entire game trying to get inside, to get into the lab, which doesn't actually make sense. You're going left to right, and you're just doing what you do in platformers. But if you think about it, you start in the woods. You start basically safe. You're free, unless it's maybe a huge game preserve or something, which it actually kind of feels like. But you're going further, closer and closer to danger throughout the course of the game, which doesn't make sense if you're just a little boy trying to get away from these horrible people. So instead, it seems like, to me anyway, my read was you're kind of being pulled in by this thing, and your joining with it is its ultimate goal, because you have the special touch that allows it to,
But wait, so what are the mermaids?
Well, so the mermaids, I think, and all of the mermaids are just another experiment in the same vein. So
no, but the question I'd asked before was, why did this one mermaid try to help you?
Yeah, I know. I know. So the mermaids, I think, are all of those creatures know you. They all know who you are, and are connected with you. Like, it's even possible, like the ones that kill you, it's kind of, it's kind of a hole in the theory, right? But maybe they don't know what they're doing, or those ones have gone crazy, and then they finally figure out who you are. Who knows? But that feeling of you're sort of the one of them who is meant to go and do this and activate that thing, and this is all part of the plan of the blob itself, I think makes more sense to me than the other theory, which is that scientists are like enabling the whole thing as a large experiment to see what happens. And I kind of find it more satisfying that way.
Well, so the one thing that also felt incongruous to me was the kind of nuclear weapon zone where like there were those blasts that would kill you.
That was, I mean...
No, and don't get me, that was an incredible
that
sequence.
Was like one of my favorite parts. Just
out
the music and the tones and the sound, because the sound design in this game was so out of control.
Oh yeah, it was incredible. And trying to having to manipulate like the various like the fans and like all the different things that you have to move, like puzzles.
And just that section.
But as far as the story, that made me think that you're in some sort of war zone or like nuclear war.
No, I think it was a test facility. I think that basically the entire thing takes place within a weapons/war bio research facility that's so big that it defies like our notion of that sort of a facility. I think even the beginning part, you were like probably in it, like even bigger, like state size, like just gigantic, because you're going, like, I think everything you go through is in some way affected by this.
Well, sure, yeah.
And maybe, and you kind of get the sense that there used to be actual farms in those farms you go through in the beginning, but that they've long since been
at the beginning, it seems like there are homes also. You're like in the background, it seems like there are, no, unless I'm misremembering.
Well, I
remember one section where you're jumping on roofs and it seems like there's living areas.
Yeah, like it could be, maybe it's a war-torn region that then some giant corporation bought the whole place and just moved in.
Right.
Or, it's an alien invasion and they're actually aliens. I mean, there are plenty of different ways to read it that feel...
I remember I got to the part where you see the number, the 20 or whatever, 19, and you have to go collect all the dolls and move them all at once. First of all, that was awesome.
That part is great, where you have this whole army of guys and you're like, let's go.
Yeah, I was going to text you at that point saying I am king of the puppets, but I thought I'd wait till I finished everything. But so that to me, I thought that was going to be the end of the game.
Yeah, me too.
It did feel like it dragged on a little bit too long in the water sections. I thought those lasted a little longer than they actually needed to. But yeah, after that, and then you get to the blob thing, and it's just like, what the fuck, man?
I mean, would that all games could have a finale that good. I mean, like that, where so many games peter out and use their best ideas in the first third. This just is such an argument for a short game, because everyone's going to finish it. And as a result, you can save your best shit. They must have spent, I don't know, I don't even know how they did the animations on that blob. There's the one puzzle where you go as the blob and you pick up a box and light it on fire and throw it over some water to yourself and catch it. And just the animations on that, as the arms move fluidly in and out of the thing, and I don't even know.
And the way the blob moves down because the gravity of it. When it lands
I don't understand.
It's perfect.
I don't understand how they did that.
So why are the scientists helping you when you're trying to escape at that point?
That's a big question a lot of people have asked, and I'm not sure. I think maybe it's unclear. That part is a little weird. It seems like that's the part that I think gives credence to the idea that this whole thing is put together by scientists as an experiment. Even though the part where you kill the CEO or whatever, the head of the company, where you walk into his office and he's like, no, and then you kind of push him out the window and just fall on him and blood goes everywhere. Yeah. I mean, that doesn't seem like that could have possibly been intended by anyone, but I guess maybe.
Maybe they just figured if they help you get away from them, then.
I think maybe that's how it seemed to me. Is they said, okay, let's just get this huge thing out of here, because otherwise it's just going to kill more people.
Well, that was so not what I expected to happen.
No, I know.
Blob sequence.
I know, so
because I expected, I don't know exactly what I expected. I expected the boy to escape and figure out that he was a puppet or something like that, some sort of weird twist like that.
Yeah.
I did not expect him to morph into a giant hand blob.
I can't even think of another game where something like that has happened. Where, the end of Half-Life 2, where you get the super gravity gun, is mechanically similar. And spoilers. It's mechanically similar in that there's this sort of really amazing, funny, cool thing that happens at the end. But that's not even close narratively to what happens at the end of Inside, which is right. It's just they just set off a hand grenade in the middle of everything. They just don't care. And I just love that so much. I love how ballsy it is, and how just totally ridiculous and funny and gross. And it just, my jaw was just on the ground. I was laughing my ass off the first time that I played that section. I couldn't believe it.
And there were I think the whole thing is just full of so many smart ideas. I really enjoyed the part where you have to pretend to be one of the puppets and move along with them.
Really good. Oh man, really good.
I really enjoyed a lot of the puzzles. I thought a lot of them were really clever. None of them felt unfair, but they all felt sufficiently interesting.
Which Limbo struggled with at a few points. I remember there was this one puzzle in Limbo that I just could not solve, because it was this very weird. You had to kind of grab a lever in midair. I don't quite remember it, but it was there were times in Limbo where the puzzles didn't quite make sense in the way that they all make sense in Inside, and also. Inside, actually, something we were talking about with Destiny, where there's this kind of logical narrative sense to all of the puzzles, which, Destiny raids are puzzles, right? It's the same kind of idea in Inside, where, how the section where the water is hanging from the ceiling and you have to jump up into the water and swim up, and the whole thing totally makes sense. You can figure it out really easily. You think, oh, okay, well, that makes sense. I see how that works. And it does the thing where it shows you how stuff works in a really clever way. You'll see it as you walk in. You'll get an inclination of what's going on. And it just is, man, it's a really good game.
Very good. Very well done.
I was just amazed.
The one point that tripped me up, I think I got tripped up at the beginning, actually, when you have to get the little birds from outside to follow you in and then have them sucked into the thing. I remember I just kept hitting on the lever because I thought I just needed to hold it down for like long enough to get the wind to push the box, and then realized I had to put something else in there too.
It's a funny puzzle because it involves something so alien to the rest of the game. It involves
going left and going to a previous room, which you usually don't have to do.
Right.
Usually you're usually moving right and like staying. Usually rooms, every puzzle is self-contained to the room it's in. This one, unlike the rest, makes you go back to the previous room, get something, and bring it in.
Yeah, I agree. I think the thing that, because there are rooms where you go left to right and right to left, but the thing that differentiates it is that when you go into the barn in that puzzle, it feels like the game has told you, okay, now you're in a new area, and outside of the barn was a different area.
I think the only ones where you have to go left and right are like ones where it's clear that it's all one big area, like the part where you're collecting puppets.
Yeah.
Right. That's clear where it's like signaling to you need to collect all these 18 puppets. That was pretty...
And the birds are just a little bit funky. They're a little bit of a funky thing in the world just because they're very unlike everything else. They're little and they're kind of a cloud of small little creatures. I mean, I liked that puzzle in the end, and it makes sense, but I could see actually and it's so early in the game, you haven't quite figured out its logic yet.
That was the only one that really tripped me up. I think all the other ones I figured out pretty...
Very shortly after that, I think, is the pig. The pig that you...
Yeah, that was
first
weird.
off scared the shit out of me.
Tail.
You pull out like a worm that's stuck in him. Because there's a whole theory.
Thought it was a tail.
No, it's this gross worm that's like dug into his flesh. And it's because those worms are kind of sticking out of a lot of things and they're like wiggling. And there's a theory actually
maybe those
that
are like
worm,
the yerks from Animorphs.
Well, no, there's a theory that
they're
the worm
mind control worms.
Well, that they're the mind control worms from Limbo, because there's a worm in Limbo that drops on your head and makes you do things, and it looks kind of similar. And so there's this whole other like theory that ties the two worlds together.
I'm glad there's so many fan theories about Limbo.
Yeah.
About Inside.
Oh yeah, of course there are. But
are there any other secrets other than the ending that people have discovered?
No, I think that's it. I could be wrong, but I believe there's really just that. As far as actual textual built into the game secrets, I think that's it. Playing this game, so you can imagine. I played this game that I talked about this already when it came out, but they sent us codes for this game. And it was just, here's some Xbox One code. They called them preview. They're like, here's some preview codes. And we didn't really know what they were. And then...
Yeah, I remember. It was right before E3.
It was right before E3. And they said, oh, check it out. This is for Inside. And I was like, Inside? Oh, yeah, that's the new Playdead game. Well, they made Limbo. It's probably cool. And then they're like, actually, these aren't preview codes. These are the full game. Go ahead and just play it. And so I don't even remember why I played it. It was not at all, this will probably be cool. It was just, I have this code, it's Saturday and I'm not doing anything, I'm going to play this. And then, from there, I just started texting Steven and I was like, dude, holy shit, dude, play this game right now. And then we were both just like, over a text message to each other. It was just this amazing surprise of, here's one of the best games of the last, I don't know how long, kind of out of nowhere. Really special game.
Well, if you made it through this whole conversation and you haven't actually played Inside, it might be kind of ruined for you now, but go play it anyway.
Actually, I said this when I reviewed it, that I think that game is better the first time. I think the surprise, this is a rare instance actually of a video game where the surprise is so good that it's great to play it. But honestly, I've played it more than once and it's awesome every time. It's so remarkable as like a work of everything, a work of sound design and a work of art and a work of animation and a work of game design and puzzle design and storytelling, that it's awesome every time you play it. It keeps getting better because I appreciate more and more things about it. So really, I don't know, even if you haven't played this and you listen to this whole thing, you should still go play it. You'll still be amazed. You'll be amazed by it. It's an amazing game.